All right, I'm now joined by Jessica Bither, the Senior Program Officer on Migration at the German Marshall Fund of the United States. A very warm welcome. Let's start with Firas, who we just met in our report. These new immigration laws, how do they impact him, a refugee here in Germany trying to find work?
Yes, well, it's important to note that the cabinet actually passed two draft laws today. The first one is the so-called immigration law for skilled labor that was referenced. Germany has a large need for skilled labor, and it's supposed to make access for third country nationals from outside of the EU easier and much faster and simpler. The second law that was passed pertains to people like we saw over there in the documentary, which are those that did not get refugee status, but that they're still in Germany under a so-called tolerated status. And so there are certain requirements that need to be met, that people are actually employed, are so-called well-integrated, have a job for at least 18 months. But this second law actually does allow certain people to stay, and that was a compromise that the government reached, and a hard compromise.
What was it about the old rules that were already in place that needed to be updated?
So specifically also on the first law, so the new migration law, the criticism was always that the bureaucracy actually worked too slow. The process was extremely complicated on the legal issue, but also in terms of at the embassies themselves. And this is why you had a bunch and very many employers in Germany, and especially from medium-sized enterprises, really the backbone of German industries, complaining that they cannot fill the vacant positions. Now, if this law actually does simplify the process, will need to be seen in how it is implemented. So just by passing the law, we do not yet know if it's actually going to meet that goal.
All right. Now, you know, inevitably, this is, of course, going to spark debate again about the influx, of migrants in Germany during recent years, which has been quite heated lately.
Yes, it will, but in a way, it will bring the debate a little bit back to what was before the so-called refugee crisis, because already then you had a big debate about German companies not being able to fill vacant positions. So on the one hand, we are going back to a debate that we had. Of course, what you have now and what you've seen is more of a mixture of mixing refugees with labor migration, and the hope, of course, of many politicians is that the debate will become more focused on the labor needs.
All right. Thank you so very much, Jessica Bither, Senior Program Officer on Migration from the German Marshall Fund. Greatly appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.